When you're moving into retirement, sometimes there are concerns about how am I going to be able to live and be happy as I continue to age into retirement. Well, this video is going to talk about how to age gratefully into retirement. And by the end, you're going to gain clarity for your personal retirement plan and have action items to secure your retirement.
To learn more about securing your retirement and all the different elements you need to know, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a video every Monday. We have helped hundreds of our clients gain clarity and get on the path to a comfortable and happy retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone, to our Monday podcast. Every Monday, Merce and I, our goal is to interview someone that we think can add value to you as a listener, as well as an expert in something that Merce and I are not experts in. So we kind of try to bring in some different folks. And as you know, we talk about a lot of different things. We talk about financial legacy as well as lifestyle. But today we have a special guest, Holly Kelly, and she is a gerontologist as well as a fellow in thanatology. So we're going to learn about what all those mean in our conversation with her. But she's also a Amazon number one bestseller. So we'll hear about her book and how that might be able to help us as well. But first of all, let me just say this. Holly, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing some of your expertise with us.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm excited to have this dialogue with you.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I got to know you a little bit, got to know about your teachings and everything like that, and it just made sense for the people that listen to our podcast. Everything that you talk about aligns very well with the transition to retirement. How does that work? Oftentimes we're so stressed about getting to retirement, we don't really think about what we're going to do afterwards and how that whole process of retirement and that next stage of our life is going to play out. So I'm excited for the conversation we're going to have here today, Holly. So thanks again for joining us. But if you could just start us off, because I know Radon just said two big words there, gerontology and thanatology. Could you just give us an idea as to what that really is?
It's two very misunderstood terms. So a gerontologist are generally very passionate people in the work that they do, more commonly known as individuals that are experts in the field of aging. And they approach aging from areas of social, cultural, psychological, cognitive, just so many different areas where they study aging and problems of the aged. And a fellow in thanatology is something that really is somebody that is an expert on death, dying, and bereavement. And it is a certification through the Association of Death, Dying, and Association of Death, Dying, and Bereavement.
Very good. So, well, we certainly appreciate you being able to talk to us on these things. I was telling you before we actually started, Merce and I, we work with individuals that are typically what we define as close to retirement or already in retirement. So that for us typically means a client becomes a client somewhere around the age of 55-ish. And then they usually stay with us all the rest of their life. And so a lot of these issues are things that we talk about with them, their family, or whatever it might be. So I'm curious, what inspired you, kind of what drove you into this type of profession when it comes to this? And I know you use some good terminology, but you call it positive aging and then obviously end of life planning. What kind of got you into this area?
Well, I feel like if we're lucky enough, literally to just continue to wake up many, many mornings and have the gift of we have hit the lottery of life. We have had the fortunes of aging. So I really feel like that this is something we should get really, really good at and not buy into society's propaganda that it is just this downhill spiral. But instead that it is just this uphill, amazing gift, and that it is the best of the years ahead. So it's something that I just was very, very passionate about, and that we should be positive stakeholders in that. As far as the fellow in thanatology, when I was a very young girl, 19, 20, 21, I was a young writer, and I think my first work was published at the age of 18. And a family friend lost her husband and she knew that I wrote and asked me to write and officiate her husband's funeral. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. And then I thought about it and I said, you know what? This is an incredible honor. And I thought about how amazing he was and all the gems that he brought to the world, and how incredible that would be for me to have this opportunity to bring him to life in front of everybody, and to perhaps allow them the opportunity to have healing and illuminate his life. And so I did it. And I was nervous, but afterwards, everyone said, oh my goodness, will you write my funeral for me? And so at a very young age, I started writing funerals and officiating funerals. And so it kind of got me very comfortable with that very real aspect of living.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really nice story as to how you got into it. And that's a lot of pressure put on an 18-year-old. But it looks like you thrived in that environment. And then obviously that has led you to a few different things, which we'll get into. I know you've got a book, you've got a thriving radio show and podcast that talks about all of these different topics of retirement and beyond. But I've got a tough question for you here, because this could go in any direction depending on who you're talking to, what type of background you're talking to, or what age you're talking to. But how do you, Holly, how do you define retirement?
Oh my goodness. I define retirement as the grand adventure that awaits, but I actually don't use the word retirement. Means the prefix means again, and tired means in need of sleep. So I coined a term, re-inspirement. Means again, inspire means just really excited about something, and the suffix ment means action. And so I love the idea that we are inspired towards action and something exciting and creative. So that's what I want for everybody. I want them to really explore what's next, and I want them to be inspired towards that childlike wonder and all of the things that they haven't been able to do because of the daily grind, because of the clock. And I want them to just really let loose and to marvel and just really seize what is next.
Great. So, and I've been doing this for a little over 20 years. Merce and I've been working together doing this for 10. And what we find is that when somebody gets to that point where they're saying, either I'm, about to retire, we can call about 5 years, 2 years, next year, it is an emotional transition for them to get from this plan of work to this plan of what we're going to call retirement. And people have just like you just did, people have different definitions of retirement. Now, we also know that there's other things that they're battling as we get into those ages. So as you think about what you do in the area that you work, what are some of the challenges that you find that people have as they are, aging into retirement? I mean, what do you find are some of those major challenges?
There's so many, literally. I have a presentation that I do. It's called I Married You for Life, Not for Lunch. And one of them is because partners aren't used to being together. And the wife is like, hey, I love you, but I'm not used to spending this much time with you. And so it's learning to be around each other again. We experienced this so much of recent times with COVID, and the divorce rate really spiked because people weren't used to being together. Another one is our aging bodies, and we maybe don't have the things that used to be the way they were. We need reading glasses, and we didn't used to be able to see, or maybe contacts. And maybe we need to, when we're climbing that mountain that we were able to climb in our youth, we need to take a break on the way up and things like that. And so I think that we need to think about that we need to do what we can with what we have, with where we're at, and really appreciate that we're able to. Finances will, I think, a major concern which you face every day in the work that you do is people are concerned, will we outlive the money that we've set aside and that we've earned? And, Social Security, health insurance that the company paid for. Oh my goodness, now I have Medicare and a Medicare supplement to pay for, and I didn't think about all of those things. So I think that finances are a very big one, and that's where the grand work that you do comes in to guide people and help them along and usher them through those many hurdles and worries that they have and dispel those fears so that they can live on the other side of retirement. And the other one that I see is really challenging for people is that work defined them and they don't know who they are without that job, and not realizing that they're not the job, and that they're not the engineer, they're actually a person. And so really trying to figure out who they are without that title. And that often is a plummet for people, is trying to figure out, oh my goodness, what am I when I'm not this? And I love helping people figure that out. That is one of the most magical parts of my work, is getting them to the other side from profession to literally seizing retirement. It's really fun to do that, but some people don't remember or don't know how to connect those dots.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You work for 30, 40 years and you get used to this whole daily grind of doing your job. Whether you love your job or you don't, you get to a point where that's who you are. You're identified by it. You're that expert in that field because you've been doing it for so long. And you if you've got a family, you take care of your family, you take care of the kids, and then you kind of, at some point, kids move out, and then the job transitions to retirement, and you got to find a way to fill in what those things were for you. And if I think about it right now, I don't know what retirement would look like for me, because we're not really taught to think about that.
Right.
Just, hey, get to retirement, and the rest, if you can financially plan perfectly for retirement, then the rest will be great. It's your golden years. But nobody ever asks, hey, what are you going to do in those golden years once you're not working and the kids are successfully out of the house and everything like that? So I think that's a really nice thing that you have a way to help people think through that. Holly, I have had a chance to take a look at your book, and it seems like there's a lot in there. Your book is Sunrise and Sunsets: Final Affairs of Forged with Flair, Finesse, and Functionality. So now I know this is a book kind of designed to talk about some of the tougher things when it comes to retirement. So tell us about that. What made you write that book? Was there a need that you were seeing? And then how does it play into someone's journey as far as retirement goes?
Thank you so much, Merce. I was actually studying end of life, and in my gerontological studies, I realized something that I just couldn't believe. And that was less than 30% of people were planning for what 100% of us will face, and that is dying. Less than 30% of people were completing a simple form, which was an advance directive. And I just was like, oh my goodness, all of us, unless we have, some little, bunny in the hat trick, all of us are going to die. And yet only, 27-ish% were actually completing an advance directive. And many of those individuals were doing it at the crisis point because they had, an event that compelled them to do that. And the people that weren't doing it, the situation was dire. It was, when it's not filled out, an entire family could be in chaos. I read so many, and we see in the news stories that make the headlines that, are very, very memorable. And there's infighting, and families don't agree with what happens, and somebody is stuck with that decision of what to do with somebody for end of life. And so I was like, oh my goodness. I looked and decided, and studied all the many reasons why people weren't doing this. And I said, I want to make this easier for people. I want to try to make people do this. I want to maybe give people a breadcrumb trail and help them plan. And then I realized, wait, there's so much more people need to do. If I was going to pass, what would I want my kids to have? What would make it easy for them? And I wanted to give them the everything toolbox for my passing. And so it just kind of started coming together, and there was 12 steps. And the acronym for those 12 steps ended up being Created Peace, because I was able to make it easily be that. So in those 12 steps, Created Peace was an end of life planning toolkit. And so it's the financial, it's the spiritual, it's the personal, and it's the entire details for somebody to plan for the end and inspire your grand new beginning, from bucket lists to getting your house in order, to legal, to personal, to everything.
So that's quite interesting. You know, the name of our firm is Peace of Mind Wealth Management.
Yes. And
And you know, and we're very, very focused on that. We see people, you know, coming close to retirement, and sometimes they don't realize all the different steps that are needed. You know, we say they focus on, maybe, do I have enough money? And that becomes the focus. And the reality is, when we start looking at it, it's like, okay, that's one piece, but that's not going to give you peace of mind in your retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So as I hear you say this, it really resonates with what we talk to folks about. So let me ask you this: for people that are listening to the show, they're maybe thinking about right now their own situation, because when you have these kind of conversations, they start running through their mind their own life, their own situation. What would you say to the listeners, and say, this is how you begin the process? This is the steps that you need to start. Like, because sometimes we find it, you kind of got to give somebody step by step in order for them to be able to make it all the way through. Otherwise, it just sounds overwhelming. So how would you say, how do you initiate that? What's my beginning steps?
Well, the one thing I would tell listeners, and thank you so much for listening, is that there's no day of the week called someday. There is today. So this is something that you don't put off till someday. It's something that we take action on, and because nobody wants to plan for this, but I promise you, I've made it fun. And peace seems to be the theme of the show. And this is something that does do that. It gives you peace. And when we have peace, what happens? We feel really, really good. And that's what it does. Once you begin, I've had so many letters from readers that said, oh my goodness, I had no idea I would feel so good. And they're living great. Their life plan has changed, just like in the grand work that you do. I would tell them to, at minimum, just go online and search Advance Directive and do that. And the sad reality is that we drive on highways home and on vacation and everywhere we go, and we see signs of entire families' worst of days, and that is crosses on the side of the road. And it's a terrible tragedy that is a reality. And so it can happen, and life is unpredictable. And having an advance directive is something that you do to relieve burden from your family, and you put your wishes in writing, and you don't shift that burden to somebody, because sometimes families don't agree with what that is. And then the entire family can be doing the very thing you would never want, which is they never speak again, some of them. And even in the book that Merce has, he you know, in certain chapters, I've shared stories, and it shows that families have never spoken again over decisions that were made on behalf of somebody. And that's the last thing any of us want. I think if something happened to me, but, you know, obviously I wrote the book, so I've done an advance directive, but if I hadn't, I would never want my passing to be the very thing that led to my entire family in fighting and never speaking again. The other thing that I would say is to get your personal house in order, because the crisis point is never the time to do it. So if you have any past transgressions, or if you have any guilt, or if you have any harboring or anything that you don't feel good about, to get that right. I have a thing in the book called the Kick the Bucket list, and to go ahead and pick up the phone and call that person and get that right. And if there's something that you just have, it's been nagging you, live on the good side and get it behind you, and live in peace today. Don't say I'll do it someday, but get it right now for you. And you'd be surprised how literally getting rid of that burden allows you to live in good graces today.
Well, that's great. Thanks for those tips of advice. Everyone listening, I hope you took some notes there, because it's simple what Holly said, but obviously we're all so good at procrastinating and letting other things get in the way. And the things that you've talked about here are major. So thanks once again for taking some time with us to talk about not the easiest subject to talk about, but you've done it in such a nice manner. Real quick, we've got a couple minutes left. Just tell us, Holly, what is it that you love about what you do?
Oh, I so love helping people redesign the most amazing years of their life. I love helping them rediscover their childlike wonder when they are literally at that point from retirement to I have no idea what's next. I love helping them figure it out. Somebody that is like, okay, now what? And maybe they think that there's just nothing left for them. They can actually try out for a play, and they say, oh my goodness, I'm acting. I can't believe this. How did I get here? And just the excitement when they realize that there's just so much left for them, and that watching the momentum. I have had, the reality is there's people that have been on my show that affirm that 70, 80 years old, and they are literally going across the country in a camper and pulling it. I'm talking even ladies hooking up campers and traveling the country. There is nothing you can't do. It is only in your mind. And so I think the most important thing is to not shortchange yourself mentally, and believe that you can, and don't buy into anything short of that, because you are capable and you can, and you're unstoppable.
Well, great. Well, Holly, what you've shared with us has been fantastic. So I know you work with individuals, you work with couples, you work in group settings, and you really help people when it comes to a lot of different things, whether that be their bucket list or their end of life planning or just being ready for retirement. So if somebody's listening to this and they'd like to get more information about you and how you work and how that you might be able to assist them, what's the best way for folks to connect with you, get in touch with you?
Thank you so much for that. The Latter Life Planning Institute is my company, and the easiest way to get there, what's easy to remember, is visit Holley, Holley, Kelley, Kelley.com, and it will take you right to the Latter Life Planning Institute. You can visit there, learn more about the many services, what we do, and just contact me there.
Well, fantastic. Well, again, thank you so much. It's been very enlightening, so we appreciate it very much.
I appreciate the education and the way that you usher people, making the best of the years for them.
We hope this video has given you some confidence and clarity as you plan for a worry-free life in retirement. But what else do you need? We have created a complimentary video course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video walks you through step by step what you need to do to get ready for retirement. You can also check out our podcast called Secure Your Retirement. You can subscribe below.
For more retirement tips, watch this video. Create your retirement income plan. Also, click here to subscribe to our podcast, Secure Your Retirement. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends.